Chapter 20. I only see strangers. Selfish. As the coroner read out my statement, it became apparent that it was not exactly my statement. It had been edited. What I had written about Dolly being bullied and assaulted by other patients had been left out. There was also nothing about my mention of Phil Brewster, the ward manager, and his nasty comment to Dolly a week or so before she died. This unnecessary jibe had, no doubt intentionally, screwed her head at the time, as if it needed more screwing. "You're nothing but a selfish little attention-seeker, Dolly." Nothing about how unprofessional that was. I should have been more lively. I didn't have a copy of my statement. If I brought one with me, I could have corrected him. As it was, the coroner got away with the whitewash. Dolly wasn't selfish, not one bit. But then she was at times, exponentially. The last conversation we ever had was by text. I had avoided picking up the phone. I couldn't deal with her refusal to eat, so I sent a message. "I need some space from phone calls, just temporary. We'll write to you. Love you loads." Dolly came back with, "I don't believe this. I don't want your bloody letter." I responded, "I love you more than anything. You're the most amazing person I've ever met. I'm not leaving you. No way. I'm just in a mess at the moment." Dolly, "Please walk away, because I sure as hell can't." Me, "I can't and I don't want to. I've just got too much shit going on at the moment." Dolly, "Yeah, well, shit happens. Get used to it." Me, "Yeah, shit does happen. Tell that to yourself next time you dump your shit on me. You are selfish, you know that." Dolly, "You know what? I give up. You're no different. I thought you were, but you're not. Do what you want. I don't care anymore." I reckon it was a selfish word that did it. Finished her off. I had been in her corner when the manager had called her that word. "Fucking unprofessional bastard," I told her. And I meant it. But when Dolly saw that selfish word appear on her phone in a message from me, it could only have looked like betrayal. The truth is, I'd included the ward manager's comments in my statement for the call. Selfish little attention seeker. But I left out my own texts. They seemed too damning. I've still got those texts on my phone. It's an old phone, but I still got it. "Please walk away, because I sure as hell can't." She could, and she did, forever. Hindsight's a fine thing. There's nothing more torturous than unrequited love. That's what I used to believe. Until I found something that beat it. Requited love that doesn't make spring, never mind summer, autumn or winter. Kick off and then game over. There's no word in the dictionary for that. There should be. The only brief that had questions about my statement was Miss Tyler Jones, acting for Dolly's dad in a clinical negligence claim. She was fishing for the goodbye letter I had received the day Dolly died. It had been kept out of the paperwork, but I knew that wasn't in stone, that it could end up public. No pressure, my contact at the coroner's office had assured me. I didn't have to hand it over. I had done, though. I handed it over, didn't want anyone to think I had anything to hide. I got up and went outside for some air. There was no way I was going to sit in that court and have my heart ripped out by Dolly yet again, in full view of a bunch of strangers all staring at me and thinking one thing. Monster. I took a few deep breaths and looked for a suitable plot. There were no seats, so I went round the front of the court and sat on the neatly mown lawn. I could feel the remains of the morning dew penetrating my trousers. My fingers tugged at the short grass. I was clenching my teeth and my muscles were rigid. A faint cry cut the silence, and I became aware that I now had a clump of earth and rough roots clutched in my palm. That sent shooting pains ripping through my body, straight up to my brain. "Shit, I'm really sorry, grass. I didn't mean to do that." It's moronic as hell, committing murder and then saying sorry after, but the dying grass shivered to let me know it was okay, that we had an alliance. They were rooting for me. Each little blade was. They knew I was temporarily taking refuge and going to have to walk back into a room full of hominids, some actively hostile. It wasn't that long ago I was scared of the grass. When I got unescorted ground leave for the first time in Sheridan Halls, I've been inside four walls too long. I couldn't sit down on the grass at all because I'd start hearing the hissing of snakes all around me. It didn't matter that the lawn was mown short into a neat carpet and I was near enough to the building to see where bits of brickwork had chipped off. I released the grass from my fist and laid it back on the ground, staring at it. How do you blades all get along so well? It's not like you have much space from each other, do you? Surprised you don't all wind up strangling each other. I spotted a patch of weed to my right and nodded towards it. I guess he's the enemy over there, is that it? I touched the weed gently. Sorry, weed, no offence. A slight breeze made the grass quiver. You keep your domestics underground, is that it? Grasses need their own kind, and just enough space to germinate, but not too much. I don't think I've ever seen a blade of grass growing on its own. Yeah, you get the odd one spring up in plant pots or struggling through the crack from the bottom of a wall or building, but they've always got a partner, or two. I hope I never do see a lone one, because it would be a very sad sight. As I wandered back towards the court, my thoughts turned back to a place where, like the grass, I was rooted and where I had felt real connection and a sense of belonging. Chapter 21, Ramadan. I'm scratching at the ringworm on my chest and arms again as I approach Al-Ashraf Mosque. Abdullah is waiting for me outside the silver shop as arranged. My stomach has gone beyond rumbling now and is going into that strangled state, screaming at the strong smell of spices, shawarma spitting, the onion, garlicky chili of koshery, men wearing turbans are dipping ladles into vats of stewing okra and pouring it into bowls. My mind has lulled into a trance induced by the deep vibration of the stringed ouds, which melt warmly into the throbbing and trilling of the tabla drums, the haunting calls of the wooden flutes, hovering somewhere in between and luring passers-by to search deeper. My eyes are bewitched by the fanu lanterns, many made from old tin cans. Mesherati are hammering out the pre-dawn alarm for suhoor. That's the morning call, wake-up call. It's simple but incredible, as things should be. I feel properly alive. Cairo has got to me like nowhere else. Yesterday, Abdullah took me to his family's workshop in Al-Nahassin. They're traditional coppersmiths. I got lost in the loud roaring of the flame and the firing, rubbing, whitening of the copper bowls. Abdullah's brother was shaping, turning and hammering them afterwards. I've got a real friend, a new brother. Abdullah is never too busy. He doesn't avoid picking up the phone, no need to. He just turns up. Egyptian homes are not shy. The doors are open. For Abdullah, what is his is mine. That's friendship. That's how he saw it. I picked up the ringworm from Warren after he got it from the mangy cats roaming about the cockroach-infested £1 a night dump we're living in on Tullard Harb Street. It's called the Oxford Ponchion. Mustafa, the manager, pretty much lets anybody pass. His glasses are always held together with a thick wad of tissue as he can't see right anyhow. Drinking the water gave us dysentery at first, and having to frequent the bathroom wasn't great due to the hole in the ground regularly overflowing, making brown lumpy puddles on the floor. The whole basement is flooded out, and there's 2 Greek blokes living down there running a stationery business in their wellies. Mainly they forge embassy letters on the old typewriter to sell to students. Helps to get cut-price plane tickets. Me and Warren are VIP residents because our room has an actual door which you can fully shut. Others get just a mattress in the corridor. The odd job boy, a Syrian called Khalid, has become a mate. He's on a mission to get a passport and get to America. Warren is an independent documentary filmmaker, and before we came here, he secured sponsorship from the dark side along with the loan of a professional low-light video camera. I've come along as his production assistant and researcher, and we're making a documentary about Sufism and the Moulids, the birthday festivals for Muslim saints. We trebled our funds on the black market as soon as we got here. No one changes money in the banks. The Sufi people have taken us in like family, and their culture is comfortable to me. Unlike British culture, where I'm always wrong. I met Warren when I got sacked from my job in Regent Street due to being too stoned. Although my boss and most of the other staff were also stoned, I was on the wrong type of drugs for that industry. The last straw was when a couple of Pakistani couriers had found out where I worked. They were bringing the stuff into the country and I was their contact point in London. I'd slipped into the toilets at our meeting point, bottled the parcel and managed to get out the back door unnoticed and without paying them, as I didn't have the money. Later they began ringing the receptionist, chasing me for the Reddies. I had to keep making excuses. Then the threats started. After getting the push, I managed to blag my way into a job in a documentary film production and distribution setup in Soho, above a brothel where the drug deals were less of an issue. On the board were very high-profile nobility closely connected with the royals, and at night, behind closed doors, the place morphed into a kind of male escort service. I often had the company checkbook in my possession, and I always needed money for drugs, so I went to the bank more than once and helped myself. The signature was not too hard to forge. Their accounting was crap, so I didn't get caught. Warren was a client now. He asked me to ditch my job and help him make the documentary in Egypt, so I did. Lately we've been zickering into the early hours with our soupy friends, i.e. dervish dancing. All males except me. They're all males except me. They seem to be an exception. They seem to make an exception for me, being a non-Muslim Westerner. Westerners refer to the dhikr as the whirling of the dervishes. It's more than just dancing, though. It's devotion to God, towards union with God. There's nothing like the beating of the drums and calling of the flutes and the escalating fervour, always culminating with one or two guys foaming at the mouth and collapsing fully at one with Allah. They call it baka, the final stage of self-annihilation. Somehow, here, I belong. Chapter 22. Rejection. Culturally, I'm not British. There are a lot of boxes to tick to be included in that category. I was in a waiting room not long after I moved to East Devon, and I saw a poster asking for volunteers to apply to help man a drug support phone line, so I put my name and details down for it. This girl called me up about it. She wound up asking me all these questions about stuff. Then she came up with this one. Do you feel part of the community? My brain went on overdrive trying to work out what the hell she meant. I was guessing there must be a code or something. What community? Yeah, I know a lot of people say that. Where is it then, on Facebook? Pretty much, yeah. So what's this phone line then? Then the punchline came. Well, if you're interested, we'll need to get you on some training. Just need to do your DBS checks first. Are they up to date? Zap. I didn't bother repeating the multiple rejections for work I'd had, both paid and unpaid, down to DBS checks. Before these chats were brought in, I had done voluntary work, both as a youth support worker and also worked with learning disabled people. Later, I had been offered a paid job as a youth support worker, but they took 9 whole months to do the checks on me, then withdrew the job offer. Another time, I had applied to work with the youth offending team, but apparently the fact that I had convictions for offences myself was a big red light. I tried to explain that experience might actually be of value in a job like that, but they didn't see that. Eventually I had made the stupid mistake of thinking that applying to do a degree might be a good idea. First I did an access course in humanities and passed with bloody good grades. I was turned down for care work, so I thought maybe I could go into mental health nurse training. The answer was no. Unfortunately, the person interviewing me said she knew me. She must have dealt with me sometime in the mental health system. And she suggested instead I go out and get any job. I'd already tried that, but I could only get voluntary work in animal shelters, gardening, charity shops at. Whenever I applied for paid work in local shops there was never even an acknowledgement. In the end, I went through the UCAS application process to do a law degree, and finally secured an unconditional offer to do a BA honours degree in law. Unfortunately, they wanted to get a mental health report, and a psychiatrist wrote to them. I remember her being an odd little woman with an Irish accent who had cross eyes who wore frilly dresses. She looked like a patient, not a doctor, and she knew F all about me. Had seen me a couple of times and asked textbook questions based around religion. She proceeded to tell the university that the only reason I wanted to study law was to protect myself from perceived persecution. I'm guessing that shrink had the utmost faith in her amazing psychic powers, since she had never asked me why I had applied for a law degree at all. If she had done, she would have known that there were 2 reasons, and it had nothing to do with protecting myself from perceived persecution. The actual facts were I had become involved in animal rights activism, and I had the idea of becoming a legal advocate for defending such cases. And this was after I had been out on badger patrol in Cornwall, and 2 of the people I were with had been caught and prosecuted for destroying badger traps. They had stayed with me during the court case, and I had gone to court with them and heard the legal arguments for and against. The other option I had considered was becoming a mental health lawyer, although I knew my record would cause me problems. My unconditional offer, which I had worked so hard to achieve, was removed on the overactive imagination of one shrink. 2 or 3 years later, I stupidly went through the same process. All the UCAS forms again, getting the references, which was not easy, applying for a loanette, and I finally got an unconditional offer to do a BA Honours in music. I had by then decided I wanted to become a music therapist, and you needed a music degree to do so. I was over the moon when I got the offer. I was honest on the questionnaires that came later about criminal convictions. I was already aware that honesty gets you nowhere in life, but I was trying to go straight and narrow. I shouldn't have bothered. My unconditional offer to do a BA Honours degree in music was again removed. I wrote a song about it this time. An unconditional offer, it's got plenty of conditions. No, you mustn't be a lunatic or have criminal convictions. No, we don't want people with a past to give themselves a future. Don't want scum like you to study the arts or spread your filthy roots here. Something like that it went anyway. Yeah. So I looked into taking the university to court this time for discrimination, but the Equality and Human Rights Commission advised me that the university had a right to discriminate against me. All they had to do was cry, health and safety. Yeah. I'm not sure I should have just accepted that, but I dropped the idea of taking them to court. Today I doubt very much they would get away with denying someone their right to take up the offer of a degree due to a past criminal record. Chapter 23. The Fallacy of Disclosure. I could hear the girl on the end of the line speaking again, but it wasn't registering. Then it was, "Your DBS checks?" "Oh, yeah, they're up to date." It was clear that the gates to the community were firmly shut to non-disclosed types. I was not only the wrong size, shape, smell, I was clearly, firmly out of date.